Greetings, lads and lads. Racquet here. How are we all today? And this is going to be an episode of Core Concepts, the third one, I believe. And yes, I have shaved and I look about 10 years old, but we're going to disregard that anyway and just listen to the audio if you please. But yes, the third episode of Core Concepts is going to be a sort of elaboration of my previous short talks video, which is the mental game. And I'm going to be sort of talking about having a discussion about the mentality when coming into Overwatch, right? And we're going to be covering tilt, ladder anxiety, holding and trying to manage with improving your own gameplay, stuff like that. So ladder anxiety, I believe that's a reasonable way to start. The mind is quite a sophisticated mechanism, right? So a lot of us do have different philosophies, different ways of approaching things, and a small thing to note as well, or it isn't really too much of a small thing, it is quite important. My thoughts, my information, my tips that I give you guys, it can't apply to everyone because everyone thinks differently, especially when relating to tilt, when relating to different stuff in game, because I obviously don't know each and every single one of you individuals, so I'm just trying to give generalized information, maybe based on maybe what I have heard from friends or myself, so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to give you guys a bit of perspective into coming into this. So ladder anxiety. I think the most important thing about ladder anxiety is not looking to gain your SR rather than not looking at your SR is a very good point, and just trying to improve your overall gameplay. Yes, it is nice to have a goal with your SR in terms of long term, but short term I don't think it's very healthy. If you want to try and gain like 400 SR in one day because you think that you're really good at the game, and when you've been doing that previously it hasn't worked, then that's obviously not going to work, right? You need to be realistic with the goals, and you need to say, alright, if I'm not doing this properly, maybe if I'm playing a bit more passive because I want to preserve this SR, or I'm playing too aggressively because I want to reach the goal, play within your own range, right? Or perhaps you can even sort of experiment and say, maybe I could be good of this hero, maybe I can be good of this hero, and start practicing getting that knowledge, that muscle memory in order to achieve the goal that you want. And it's important to have that goal. Set yourself a goal that I need to maybe increase my accuracy by 2% by a set date. Just small little individual goals that will help you gain as a player. It is very important, and I think it is mismanaged what people sort of think in terms of unrealistic things like I'm going to go gold to diamond in one day, when you don't have the mechanical display that you've seen previously and you're just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result, right? So that is very important to note. In terms of tilt, everyone has reasons why they tilt. It is factual, not everyone has the same reason. Whether it be because of you think that your teammates are bad, whether it be because you think that you're bad and you can do better. There are several reasons as to why you would tilt, and in terms of, tilting just because you think that you're bad at the game, it's honestly not the best mindset, right? Because you're not going to improve if you always hag on yourself and you have that sort of anti-bias about you and you're trying to focus on yourself, but you're really taking all the negatives of what you're doing. It overall decreases your terms of gameplay. The most important thing about analyzing your gameplay is looking at the facts, the statistics, seeing whether you have a gradual progression, and if you do have access to friends, if you have maybe a coaching staff, say, what have I done compared to this? What have I done compared to this? Look at other pro players that do play your hero and say, what can I do to try and replicate? Or maybe I don't have the exact mechanics, so maybe I do a sort of downgraded version of what they're doing. So you have to put things into perspective and according to what you are judged by, and sometimes judging yourself, if you do have that mentality, is very unhealthy. And you can look at the other side of the spectrum and claiming that all your teammates are bad and stuff like that, and you tilt off that. Smurfs are made for a reason. If you believe that is the trait, just make a Smurf account and you feel like you've doubled your MMR because that you've improved over a gradual process and you're very good now, but because you have dug yourself in an MMR ditch, you believe you can climb. So get a Smurf account and see if that actually holds up, because on several occasions I've seen people, they're like, oh, I'm so good at this game, yet I'm stuck in gold or platinum, whatever. You're not. Like, the reasons Elo Health sort of does exists sort of, but it isn't as glaring as a lot of people think it is, and it's just honestly a bad excuse because you can carry on certain heroes in Overwatch. People say yes, it's a team game. That is correct. If you're in a team full of 5 idiots, that can be the case, but that's assuming that the other team doesn't have the same problem as you, so it's quite hypocritical. So it's a very difficult process, definitely, to try and disrupt your habits, because a lot of the reason why people are tilting is because of bad habits, whether it be because, you know, they're staying up till 6 o'clock in the morning trying to do things, or you're not, you know, waking up early, or you have school or work and straight after you just hop on and try and do things. It's very helpful, I guess, if you do maintain a reasonably healthy lifestyle along with gaming. You're, you know, sitting on the chair for a very long period of time, stretching your hands, you know, doing stuff like that. Just small things will add up if you do, you know, eat healthy, or it's important to feed yourself, you know, with all this sort of stuff, and it does add up accumulatively, and it definitely does accumulate over time, right? Whether it is because you eat very unhealthily and you just sit down all the time and you tilt because of the way you feel in your personal life, like, you need to, I mean, one thing that I personally do to help me, I watch a lot of ASMR videos. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen any ASMR videos, but I feel like they help me in terms of relaxation if ever I feel tilted or I feel down, you know. It's a sort of niche thing, but yes, people do have their own sanctuaries. Maybe you can perhaps play a musical instrument to calm you down. If you don't want to be this robot that plays 24/7 every day, then maybe perhaps that's the avenue for you. And as I said, it all relates towards goals. Do you want to be the best you can possibly be? Because if you do want to be the best you can possibly be and you tilt over it, then that implies that you generally care for it. So get off your sorry ass, and instead of blaming your teammates all the time, actually look at the statistics to see if yourself you're gradually improving. And if you are, good for you, because, you know, over time you will gradually improve. You will. If you just try and focus on what the good things are, and you try and focus on what your strengths, weaknesses, compare them, and say that this is a really decisive thing to work on, I can focus on this, rather than just being blindsided and focusing on your positives all the time. It's really important, because you have two sides of the spectrum. People focus way too much on their positives, and people focus too much on the negatives. They're both horrible, both absolutely horrible, because if you focus too much on your positives, then you can't really improve. But if you're focusing too much on your negatives, you can't really... They both come hand in hand, really. And it's ridiculous to assume that both of these mentalities are healthy, despite them being on opposite ends of the spectrum, because they're both sort of extreme issues, but it's just on other sides, right? And it's important to maintain... sorry, I'm just playing along with my hair. It's important to sort of... How can I word it? I'm thinking I should probably write things down before I start episodes, but let's just say you're in a team environment, right? Healthy discussions, obviously very important. You want to analyze your own gameplay when you know the group circle thing happens, and like, why do you think we lost this game? It's because in 2 minutes in the game I did this, this, and this, and maybe in the 4 minutes and you did something really good, and then someone can have their own opinion on that and say, yeah, you did really good, but maybe you could have done this to do it even better. Like, having outside opinions is very, very, very important and insightful when it does come to the nitty-gritty, really, because some people are very arrogant and they don't realize their own weaknesses because of their cockiness, and it's a horrible thing to have in gaming. It's a horrible thing to have in life. Myself, as someone who was very good at sports, I was quite cocky back in the day. I would, every time I came into a tennis match, I would literally shit talk the other person at the other side of the court, and I wasn't very respectful. And yes, when I lost, it actually quite destroyed me. Despite being so cocky, I had the mindset that I wasn't going to lose, pretty much. Well, the thing is, I said that I wasn't going to lose, but I always had that ever flowing down in my mind that I could lose. And when that does trigger, it can really hurt you, because you're telling yourself, despite not even believing it, that you're going to win. and when you lose, it's like it comes as a surprise, but it's not a surprise because at the back of your mind you did think that was a possibility. Like the mix of feelings, the emotions that can occur, it's obviously a very wide range, right? But it's definitely something to consider because, you know, gaming and sports in terms of mentality, very, very consistent in terms of what's happening, because, you know, what gaming is trying to do nowadays in terms of esports are trying to come very similar to sports. You know, they're getting coaching staffs, we have commentators and stuff like that, or what we call casters. It's very interesting to see how all of this has evolved, and all these traditional methods that sports have applied can be used in esports as well. That's why we're getting coaches. This is why we're getting mental assistance with teams, and it is very important that you can keep this stuff on track, because the mental game certainly is as important as your mechanics. Because let's just say you could be the most mechanically gifted person in the world, but who would want you in a team if you just tilt all the time and if you curse and say you're shit all the... Like, no one wants you. No one. It's important to work on things as itself, and if you do need assistance, don't be afraid and just bottle up things. Otherwise you're just going to accumulate all this stress over time and you're going to blow up. That's just a factual thing. And yes, a lot of people, they do have personal issues at home, whether it be regards to, you know, family, whether it be regards to anxiety, personal depression issues, and you need to work on that as a person. I know it sounds like I'm trying to hag, and it's easier said than done, but if you do need professional help, you need to seek it, because when you're, let's just say, in a team environment, it can really hurt the team. When you have 6 players in Overwatch and you have one person that extremely down all the time, it can actually really hurt, and if you're putting a band-aid over it, you're really going to hurt the longevity of things. Right? It's certainly a very touchy topic to touch, but I'm trying to sort of generalize everything and to say, you know, over here, and over here, this is what happens, X, Y, and Z, but I can't. It's quite difficult. But what I will say is that if you're being lazy, and I've always said this before as well previously, if you're tilting, that implies that you somewhat care about improving, and if you care about improving, then you should have the necessary resources to try and improve. Otherwise you're just going to complain for no reason, and you're blind in that sort of respect. So yeah, excuse me. If you want to do something in gaming, if you want to climb SR, just make sure you focus on yourself rather than, you know, believing everyone else. But if you do want to believe everyone else and you believe that their opinion is objective and they don't try to discriminate against you all the time, that is completely fine. Completely fine. But if someone hates you and they purposely rag on you and say that you're bad, they're obviously having their own biased opinion because of their negative mindset, you know, towards you. So just trying to filter all that out. Try and look at the resourceful information. Look at VODs. Look at what other top tier players do, and then it would help your own gameplay. It seems like all common stuff that I'm saying, and it doesn't need to be, you don't need to be an expert to figure it out, but a lot of this is missed, and you'd be quite surprised with what other people, you know, and their mindsets have, because it doesn't necessarily click through. It goes in through one ear, goes out the other. So yeah, that's pretty much about it in terms of this video. I know I haven't posted for about a couple weeks now, so I apologize for that. Been doing some things behind the scenes, but yeah, once again, I thank you all for watching this video. If you do want me to make a follow-up on this, feel free to ask me in the comments and I'll try to explore a bit more. Of course, I'm no professional psychologist. I don't exactly know how the mind reacts towards every single situation, but I have had, you know, several friends use me as a third wheel in a lot of relationships, so I'm a sort of guru in that sense, maybe. No, I'm not even sure. But yes, thank you for watching this video. That was the most irrelevant comment I've ever made, but yes, see you everyone. Take care. Goodbye. This is Racquet.